In this video, we're going to review some prerequisite skills from grade 8 and 9 that you'll need for this unit, which is called similar triangles. We're going to start with some angle relationships, and these are the angle relationships you will need to know. The first one is the triangle interior angles. So in this relationship, do you remember what you get when you add up the three interior angles in a triangle? The answer is they all add up to 180 degrees. The next relationship is called vertically opposite angles. Those are formed when two straight lines intersect. Vertically opposite angles are equal to each other. That is if they are on opposite sides of the crossing lines. So if this angle is equal to x, this angle is equal to x. If this one is equal to y, this one is equal to y. So they are equal. Now there are three relationships that are involved in parallel lines, which has one line going through the two parallel lines. That line is called a transversal. And these two lines are parallel. So when you have two lines that are parallel and you have a transversal line that goes through it, one relationship are called alternate angles. Alternate angles are in between the two parallel lines, but on opposite sides of the transversal. We usually call this the Z pattern. Your Z pattern can look forwards, backwards. Sometimes it looks a little funky like this, so stretched out, but it's in between the two parallel lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. And that relationship has equal angles. The next one involving parallel lines. The angles are on the same side of the parallel lines. So in this case, they're both below the parallel lines, and they're on the same side of the transversal. So they are also both on the right side of the transversal. This is what we call the F pattern. And with the F pattern, corresponding angles are equal. So that's the F pattern. And this one here is the Z pattern. So again, same side of the parallel lines. So these are both below the parallel lines, and same side of the transversal. They're both on the left. Both of these are above the parallel lines, and both of these are on the right of the transversal. So again, your F can be forward, it can be backwards, it can be upside down, anything at all that looks like an F. The last relationship with parallel lines is called the co-interior angles. And co-interior angles are in between the two parallel lines and on the same side of the transversal. So they're both in between the two parallel lines, and in this time they're on the right side of the transversal. This is what we usually call the C pattern. And with the C pattern, the two angles add up to 180 degrees. So here's an example you might get. In these cases, what you have to do is state the value of each of the variables, and you have to state how you know. So for instance, which one of these relationships tells you that that's the value? So you can answer these in any order, but the value we get for A would be equal to 40 degrees. Can you think of why it's equal to 40 degrees? It is because there is an F pattern right there. So it is the F pattern. For B, one thing that you have to remember is that if this tick and this tick both are there, they have the same number of ticks, it means that those two sides are equal in length, which makes DEB an isosceles triangle. That would mean this angle here is 40 and this angle here is also 40. So because the three angles in a triangle have to add up to 180, 40 plus 40 is 80, so that makes angle B equal to 100. So the reason why is the triangle sum. Angle C, once again, you have an F pattern. So if that's equal to 40, angle C is equal to 40. And lastly, angle E, right in here, you have a C pattern. So if angle C is equal to 40, E and C have to add up to 180. So that means that angle E has to equal 140 degrees because of the C pattern. So those are the angle relationships you're required to know, and you might get examples like this where you have to figure out the values, but you also have to make sure that you can justify why you get those certain values. The next prerequisite skill that you will need to know about is how to solve proportions. A proportion is a statement that two ratios or rates are equal. Generally, one of the pieces of information is missing, and you must solve for the unknown value by cross-multiplying. You will always round to one decimal place where required. So if it states that 3 over 5 is equal to a over 15, and you're trying to solve for a, you can probably figure out in your head that that is equal to 9. But you're going to get harder examples like that, so we want to make sure that I show you a method where you can solve any example. Cross-multiplying means you take the numerator of one fraction and multiply it by the denominator of the other. So that's 3 times 15. And that's equal to the opposite, which is the denominator of the first fraction multiplied by the numerator of the second fraction. So 5 times a. So that's basically 45 is equal to 5a. Then to solve for a, divide both sides by 5, and you will get a is equal to 9. So take a minute, pause the video, try this example here, and this example here, and then when you're finished, press play on the video and see how you do. So press pause now, please. Okay, welcome back. So in this example here, on the left side, 4 times 7 is 28. On the right side, 5 times x is 5x. Divide both sides by 5 and you get 5.6. The second example was a little bit trickier because you had this 2n. On the left side, 6 times 25 was 150. On the right side, 15 times 2n is 30n. And then divide both sides by 30 to get n equals 5. You will get some questions where you're going to have to use the distributive law. So on the left side, you have x plus 1 times 10. When you write it out, you're going to have to write it out like this using brackets because both the x and the 1 have to be multiplied by the 10. On the right side, 15 times 6 is equal to 90. So use the distributive law. You get 10x plus 10 equals to 90. Subtract 10 from both sides. That will give you 10x equals 80. Then divide both sides by 10. And you get x equals 8. So once again, pause the video, try this example here, and we'll do the next one together. But try this one, pause the video, and then when you're finished, come back to the video to check your answer. So press pause now, please. Okay, again, welcome back. Left side, 2 times 30 is 60. On the right side, you have 12 times x plus 2. Using the distributive property, that gives you 12x plus 24. Subtract 24 from both sides, then divide both sides by 12. Alright, so there's some other questions here which gives you some more challenging algebra involved and more challenging equation solving. So I'll do one more example with you and then you can try the last two on your own. So on the left side, 10 times w is equal to 10w. On the right side, w plus 4 times 6. Don't forget to write that in brackets. Distributive law. You get 10w equals 6w plus 24. Now in this case, we're going to subtract 6w from both sides because we need to collect the w's together. So that will give you 4w equals 24. And then when you divide both sides by 4, you're going to get w is equal to 6. So again, press pause, try the next example, and then even try this one. The danger of this one is when you go to cross multiply, you're going to be getting a binomial times a binomial, and you're going to have to FOIL those. And in that case, you're going to end up with a quadratic equation, not a linear equation like this. And remember, to solve a quadratic equation, you're going to have to either factor or use the formula. So you can do it. You just did it in the last couple of units. Try the next two examples. Press pause now, please, and then come back and check your answers. Okay, again, welcome back to the video. So for this example, 3 times 5x was 15x. On the right side, 5x plus 5 times 10. Use brackets for that binomial. Distributive property. Subtract 10x from both sides to collect the x's together. Then divide both sides by 5. For the last example, on the left side, negative 12. On the right side, you have the two binomials multiplied together. So you're going to FOIL those. Remember, before you can do anything, you have to be in standard form. So you're going to add 12 to both sides and collect like terms. This is a simple trinomial. So to solve for x, find two numbers that multiply to negative 3, add to negative 2. Those numbers are negative 3 and positive 1. Then to solve, set each factor equal to 0 and figure out your two values of x. So that's what you need to know to be able to solve proportions. So those are your first two prerequisite skills that you need to know. That ends part 1 of the video. Please ensure that you watch part 2 of the video, and that will go over congruent triangles and Pythagorean theorem.